Hi, and welcome to another episode of Casual Learning. I'm your host, John Bannan. Today we're going to be discussing proper running form. So, what's the deal with proper running form for a high school distance runner? Well, running form means what is your body doing while you're running or you're in a race. What are the various parts of your body doing at that point? How are they behaving? How are they moving? And how should they be moving? Running form can be very different for a sprinter. I'm not going to talk about proper running form for a sprinter. I'm talking about proper running form for a distance runner or distance racer. Running form is very important to run fast. The reason for that is, in order to run as fast as you can, in whatever the event might be in distance, the 800, 1600 or mile, 3200 or 2 mile, cross country, 5K, 10K, whatever it is, you want to use the energy that your body produces in as efficient a manner as possible. You don't want to waste energy in a race. You want to use all that energy for the purpose of running fast and forward. Now, the body has three energy systems that come to play in a distance race. Two of those systems work without oxygen, and therefore we call them an anaerobic energy process or system. The other works with oxygen, and so we call that an aerobic energy system. Most distance races rely much more heavily on the aerobic energy system, except for maybe the 800, which is about 50-50 aerobic versus anaerobic. These energy systems, these three are, I've listed them for you here. The first is the anaerobic lactic system. Now, this system is the fastest and the most powerful of the three systems. It works without oxygen. It doesn't produce lactic acid, and it lasts for about 6 to 15 seconds. This is an energy system that you either use it or lose it. In a distance race, the place where you would use this system is at the very start of the race. So you might sprint at the start of the race for 8 seconds because it's not going to produce any lactic acid. And, that lactic acid is what slows you down in a race. If that lactic acid builds up too high in your bloodstream, you get a burning sensation from the hydrogen ions created along with the lactic acid. And that burning sensation slows you down. And you could end up looking like you're running in slow motion, even though you're putting out just as much effort as you were when you were running at the beginning of the race. So you feel like it's hard and it's burning, but you've slowed down significantly, and you're not going to get any faster until that lactic acid flushes itself out of your bloodstream. So the first energy system is a freebie. It doesn't produce lactic acid, but it only lasts about 8 seconds, and you use it at the start of a race. Sprint. Uh, the second system is the anaerobic lactic energy system. It works without oxygen. It produces lactic acid and lasts about 2 minutes. Now, this is the energy system that sprinters primarily rely upon. There really aren't any sprints that last more than 2 minutes. And this is the reason, because the sprinter is building up that lactic acid and it's overloading in its bloodstream while they're running that sprint, and they feel that burn, and it allows them to run, super fast, but it doesn't last. That burn will eventually catch up with them, and they have to stop. Your body's making you stop to reconvert that lactic acid through the liver into glycogen. That's called the Cori cycle, where the lactate produced by anaerobic glycosis in the muscles moves to the liver and is converted to glucose, which then returns to the muscles and is metabolized back to lactate. So your liver is involved in basically converting that lactate back into an energy molecule, which then returns to your muscles and can be used to produce energy again through the anaerobic processes. So in distance racing, generally speaking, you rely on the aerobic energy system. The aerobic energy system uses oxygen, and it's used for efforts over 4 minutes. So in a distance race, you may use some combination of aerobic and anaerobic energy while you run. And the trick is not to let the lactic acid build up to such a point that you feel that burn and you have to slow down. So that's why your lactate threshold and the tempo runs that improve lactate threshold is so important to a distance runner. The lower that threshold is, the longer and faster you're able to run without that lactic acid spiking in your blood system and slowing you down. Because once that happens in a race, you hit the wall, and the rest of the race you're just running slow, much slower. Ideally you'd want to hit that wall as you pass the finish line. But that often doesn't happen, and that can ruin your time. And that's why you try to improve that lactate threshold as a distance runner. Your body is constantly converting that lactic acid back into energy molecules that your muscles can use. But if you exceed the use of that energy molecule, producing too much lactic acid, more than the liver can reconvert back into that energy molecule, then your lactic acid starts spiking in your blood system, in your bloodstream, and that's when you start to get the burn, and that's when you hit the wall. So in a tempo run or a lactate threshold run, what you're doing is you're bringing your body almost to the point where there's an overload of lactate acid, and you're essentially practicing having your liver convert that lactic acid back into an energy molecule. So it gets better at doing that and doing it quickly. And that way you can lower your lactate threshold so you won't spike. You won't have that lactic acid spike during a race at a faster speed. That's the whole idea. All right, so you've got these 3 energy systems. Now, what does running form have to do with this? Well, Running form allows you to efficiently use the energy that your body is producing during a distance race. So use up every scrap of that energy to do what you're doing in a race, which is going fast and going forward. So efficiency really has to do with running efficiency really has to do with using that energy to go fast and go forward. All right. So when you talk about running form, you can start from the top of the body, the head, all the way to the feet, and discuss what proper running form is. So let's start at the top. The head. What should you be doing with your head while you're racing? Well, your head should be it should be forward. Okay, it should be still, not tight, but still. When you run, you shouldn't be going like this, running with your head back. It should be forward. Look at the runner in front of you, or maybe look 7 or 8 meters up the track while you're running. But your head should be still. Your head shouldn't be bobbing back and forth like this. All right. You're wasting a lot of side to side motion and energy when you do that. You want all the energy you produce to be used to move forward and fast. Any energy you expend that's going side to side, you're using energy to move side to side, that's wasted energy. You're wasting energy in your race. So running form is really all about getting everything to go forward. So don't do this when you're running. Side to side. No, don't do that. It's a waste of energy. Don't do this with your head bobbing. Like you're a bobblehead or something like that. Don't be a bobblehead, okay? So, your head's straight. You're looking forward. You're not like this. You're just looking forward. Your head's not bobbing. It's staying still while you race. You don't want to create a lot of muscle tension in areas of your body that are not involved in running. Why? Because muscle tension uses energy. So you're diverting energy to these muscles which are keeping tense, which you could be using to run and run faster straight. So you want the rest of your body to be relaxed. So your shoulders are relaxed when you're running. Your jaw and your cheeks are relaxed. They should feel like Jell-O, that relaxed. Okay? You're not using energy to put tension in your face muscles. You're using that energy somewhere else while you're running. So, you shouldn't be smiling the whole time you're running. It should be loose like Jell-O. Okay, well, let's get down to this part of the body, the shoulders. What should that be doing? Well, when you're running, you're leaning forward slightly. All right, so you're running and you're leaning forward slightly. Maybe you're 10 degrees, right? Maybe 10 degrees forward. Slightly. It shouldn't be an exaggerated lean forward, but it's going to be slightly forward. Your chest should be up. Okay, lean forward. Chest should be up. You shouldn't be slumped over like this. Okay, so head up, chest up, but you're leaning slightly forward. Now, what should your shoulders be doing? Well, you should have arm movement during your run. And your arm, during most of the race, should be bent at a 90-degree angle. The rotation of your arm swing, however, comes from the shoulder. The shoulder. So you may see that elbow go back, right? You're going forward, back, the elbow's going back, you're going forward like this, okay? From the shoulders. So your arm swing is from your shoulders, and your elbows are blocked at 90 degrees. When you have your arm swing going forward, the hands themselves may cut across the body some, okay? But don't let it cut across the body too much. So there's a midline on your body right here, and your hands shouldn't cross that midline while you're swinging your arms. So you don't want to see something like this, because you see what that does? It makes your body go from side to side. You swing those arms past that midline, your body starts going side to side, and that's wasted energy. That's side to side movement. So you don't want your hands to go past the midline. It eliminates that side to side movement. Another thing is, why are you swinging your arms? Okay, well, your arm swing is a counterbalance to your leg movement. So if you didn't have that swinging arm, your hip would tend to open up as your leg went back, and that's a side movement. It's a side to side. It ends up being a side to side movement. You can see this yourself if you try running straight forward and just hold your arms out like that in front of you and run without an arm swing, and you'll notice that you start to get an open hip as your leg goes forward and back, and that creates a side to side hip movement, which again is wasted energy. You don't want a side to side open hip movement. So the arm swing counterbalances that body movement to open up the hip as you're moving your leg back, because your arm is moving forward while that's happening, and that counterbalances it, and it keeps your leg from opening up like that. It keeps your hip from opening up as your arms are moving like that. It's a counterbalance to your legs, and what results is that your legs go forward and they do it straight instead of opening up, because of your hips, and your arm swing avoids this side to side movement as you're running. All right. Arm swing is very important. Another use for arm swing is the faster your arms move and swing, the faster your legs move, because your legs have to keep up with your arms. So when you're sprinting and you're a distance runner, what you want to do is open up that elbow maybe to 110 degrees instead of 90. And then swing your arms as fast as you can while you're sprinting. Let's say you're sprinting to the finish line. That's going to make your legs move faster. It's going to make you move faster. Okay, that's how a distance runner sprints, as compared to a sprinter who sprints differently. They have the 90-degree arm angle, but they do this. So you may see them doing this. All right. And they're doing it on purpose to get their legs to move faster. Distance runner, you do that a little bit different. Open up the elbows. So you have the arm swing going 90 degrees. What about your hands? Your hands should be loose. You don't want tension. Tension is unnecessary energy wasted instead of going forward. So what do you do with your hands? Well, you can close your hands if you want. You can leave your hands open if you want, but they need to be loose. So one thing you could do is you can imagine that you're holding a potato chip while you're running, and your hands should be loose enough so that you don't crack or smash that potato chip while you're running. They should be loose enough so that you could do that. You could run with the potato chip and not break it while you're running because your hands are loose enough. Not so loose that you can't hold on to the potato chip, but loose enough that you don't break the potato chip. So that gives you an idea of how your hands should feel. Okay. So everything about form should be going forward. All the momentum of your body needs to be going forward. That's the idea. Everything forward. So, slight lean forward. Everything's going forward. All right, so we'll move down some now. And what do you do with your your legs? Oh, I forgot to mention one other thing. Up here, breathing. Where should you be breathing? You should be breathing in and out of your nose during a race. Why? Because when you breathe in your nose, you use the diaphragm to bring the oxygen into your lungs. That means you're going to get more oxygen into your lungs. And if you get more oxygen into your lungs, your blood is going to be able to absorb more oxygen. And oxygen is what your aerobic energy process uses to produce energy during a distance race. So it will increase the oxygen level in your blood, which is going to make you run better. So breathe through the nose and out through the nose. You may have to practice that. It may not be an easy thing for you to do at first, but it's much better if you can breathe in and out through your nose during a race the entire time. You may have to synchronize, how many strides you take per breath. Maybe it's 2 strides per inhale, 2 strides for an exhale. Some sort of pace like that. Synchronize your stride with your breathing so you can get accustomed to breathing in and out of your nose. That doesn't mean, if you have to, you can breathe through your mouth, because it's not an easy thing to run an entire race, breathing out and in through your nose. But practice it. Try to get better at it. All right, back down to your legs. When you're running, your knees should be going up. High knees. Yeah, oftentimes in running practices, you'll see runners practice high knees. It's one of their drills, one of their exercises. And while you're running, you want your knees going up high. Now, everything should be forward. So your knees are going up high, but they're straight. They're going straight forward. They're not angled out or angled in. Everything is going forward and straight. So then, you get down to your feet, your kick. Generally speaking, a good running form has your foot swinging, and if you look at the feet as they're running, it'll look like they're driving a bicycle. It'll be a very circular motion. The feet will be very circular. If you have a hard time seeing this, you can just stare at one foot, just one of the feet, while somebody's running. You should see this circular motion like they're on a bicycle. Now everything is forward, so ideally the orientation of your feet is always forward. Now, some people have issues with their legs, which they can't do anything about, but their foot may rotate while they're running, and you may see, if you look at them from behind and you watch them run, instead of seeing their foot straight ahead, you might see that their feet are kind of angled out when they hit the ground. It's because their foot is rotating as they run, and that's not ideal. Ideally, it's straightforward, but they may not be able to do anything about it. It may be a condition they have. It's fine. You can run that way, but ideally, you want it like this. So you want to think about keeping everything forward, including your feet and your legs. Everything forward and straight forward. Don't go this, don't bend things. Don't bend things out or bend things in. Now, when you're running, your foot shouldn't land in front of you. It should actually land right beneath you, right beneath your hip. And when it comes up behind you, your heel should come up to about the level of your rear. So there's a big backswing on your stride. There should be. Now you'll see some runners who they don't do that, and that back heel doesn't come up quite as far as their rear end, and that's poor form. They need to work on that. In fact, as soon as you learn some of these form techniques, you'll start noticing which runners have good form and which runners don't have good form. And believe me, college coaches can tell whether you have good form or not. They look at this stuff all the time. They know whether your form is good or not. So, if you're going to take running seriously and you want to look good, like you know what you're doing as a runner, you want your form to look really good. Not to mention the fact that it's going to help you run faster and farther, but it also makes you look good. Okay, so, what about your feet, your actual feet? Generally speaking, you want to land near the ball of your foot. Maybe a little bit to the back of the ball of the foot, a little bit back to the ball of the foot. So here's a running shoe. So the ball of the foot is right around here. So when you're running, you're hitting here. Hitting here, right around the ball of your foot. You don't want to be running on your toes. Some sprinters may do that, but you're not a sprinter, you're a distance runner. You don't want to be running on your heel. In fact, you can tell because if somebody's running on their heel, because you can watch the one foot as they run, just the one foot, and you can see where the foot lands. Is it running? Is this person hitting the midfoot area near the ball of the foot, or are they running? Are they running on their heel? If you're a heel runner, it may be that it doesn't really affect you, and it's okay. But generally speaking, you don't want to run on your heel. You want to run on that ball area, the midfoot. Let's see. When you're running, your footfall should be fairly quiet. You shouldn't hear a big, thump every time your foot hits the ground. You're running too hard. You're putting too much pressure on your foot and on the ground while you're running. It should be quiet. So try to quiet your footfall. When you're running, you want to maintain control of yourself. So there shouldn't be any shaking going on. It's all control. It should be controlled, not shaking. Body parts moving, going back and forth, side to side. Those are all lateral movements. They don't help you. Everything is forward. Remember, so there shouldn't be anything shaking about you. So your foot should land in the middle towards the ball of the foot with dorsiflexion, not on your heel. During a race, you shouldn't look back. So you're running. Don't do one of these. Where is that person who's chasing me? Don't ever look back in a race. That's just poor form. You should be only thinking about going forward. All right. If you have a coach on the sideline, maybe they can warn you about somebody right behind you, or maybe you can hear them. Or maybe you can see them out of the corner of your eye. But you shouldn't be turning your head to look behind during a race. That just slows you down. I mean, you got to slow down because you're not paying attention to going forward. So now, you're slowing down because you got to slow down because you're afraid now because you're not looking forward. Or you've shifted your body now. All right, you've misaligned your entire body while it's trying to run. And you're not going forward anymore, and you're doing all these lateral movements because you're looking back. So don't look back during a race. Don't. Right, so when you're running, you're leaning your chest out, and you're driving your knees up. And you can practice that form of your chest out and you driving your knees up, running into a wind. So if there's a windy day, you can do some practice on your form by running striders maybe into the wind. It'll help. It'll help with your form. The wind will force you to keep your chest up and drive your knees up. In cross country, you change your form slightly going up and down a hill. So if you're going up a hill, first thing is you speed up to the hill. So you're running, you're creating more momentum as you approach the hill. So you're speeding up as you approach the hill because that momentum is going to help you go up the hill. So that's the reason you do it. So you hit that hill, and what you do is you lean forward as you're going up the hill. Not too much, but you lean forward some, and you bounce up that hill with high knees, and you bounce up with your arm pumps. All right, your arm pumps. Now that's not the open elbow I was talking about when you're sprinting for the finish line. That's more of I'm talking about a sprinter's pump. So it's a 90-degree pump, arm pump. So high knees and arm pumps as you bounce up that hill. Okay. Now going down the hill, you need to move your arms out like you're swimming. You move your arms out in front of you like you're swimming, and you need to run wide. So your legs are wide, almost like you're bow-legged, but not quite. But it's so that you can keep your balance as you go down the hill, because you want to go down the hill as fast as you can. But you got to be careful. You can you can fall. You're going down a hill, especially a steep hill. So you keep your legs wide for stability, and your arms forward, like you're swimming, also for stability as you run down the hill fast. All right, so that's a different form when you hit hills. Running form is important for two big reasons. One, it makes sure that you don't waste energy, and the economy of movement is maximized going forward and straight and fast. And the second reason is because you look like you know what you're doing. If you're a runner and you have good form, you look like a runner. Well, it also depends on what you're wearing, but you got that right at least. You got the form right. So if a coach is looking at you, or some spectators who happen to know about running and they see that you have good form, they're going to think more of you. They're going to think, well, this person knows what they're doing. They've had some training. Look at their form. They have really nice form. So it creates a much better impression upon others. And that's another really good reason to be concerned about your form. Now, you should practice your form too, because you can get sloppy with your form. And the best thing to have is someone who can watch your form, who knows what to look for, to tell you what you're doing wrong and what to fix. Or sometimes you can use like an iPad or some sort of recording device, and you can have somebody record you as you run, so that you can look at your form and see whether you're doing everything right. Maybe from different angles, as you're coming forward, and then from the side, and then from the back, to see all the different angles of your form to make sure they're correct. And you do that periodically. You do have to practice your form and correct it and make corrections to it periodically. Hopefully your coach is teaching you about form and is doing this and is pointing out all the mistakes you're making in your form and getting you to correct them. And doing this, periodically, and having you practice form. It's important. Form is a very important aspect of running and distance running, in particular. That's about all I have on running form. There's lots of videos on YouTube, good videos about proper running form. You feel free to watch those. Look at those. Give you a good sense of what other people have to say about form, and how they demonstrate proper form. So there's a lot of good information out there about form that you can easily access, and I would do that and learn proper form as best you can, and keep tabs on is your form good right now, and how to correct it. So that's it. Take care, everybody.